Anarchy.
Welcome, everyone, to Anarchy in
Space
is the place for lovers. Welcome to Anarchy in Space. This is episode number 18.
1-8.
We're talking about episode 8 of season 2 of The Expanse. I am Nikki P here, as always, with my co-host, Eric the Red.
Yes.
And I'm tripping them up there because they're going to be like, if this is the first episode, Eric the Red. And then if they're every other episode, they're going to be like, who the hell is Eric the Red? That was Eric Hyler. Why do you know so many Erics?
I know. It was the late 70s. We were all over the place. That and Jennifer. So,
is it possible to know a Jennifer and not think of her as a stripper?
sure. I know several that aren't.
You could say that. I assume they all are, even if you know them that aren't. Like, I'm thinking they just haven't reached that point in their life yet.
Oh, okay.
Shit hasn't gotten so bad that they have to give in to what their natural human inclination is as a stripper.
I even know a Jennifer that has a Y in her name instead of the E at the end.
A Jennifer?
Yeah.
Or is it Jennifer?
Yeah, it's like Jen, and then it's a Y for the FER part. So it's just FYR.
Okay, now I have to ask this question. White or black?
Whiter than I am, I would have to assume.
Yeah, but you're black, so of course she is. You're my Coco brother.
I am a quarter Sicilian, so that I guess that is possible.
See, and I don't have the Sicilian thing. We're the other people.
Oh, regular Italian?
We're Naples people.
Oh, Napolitan. I gotcha.
So, well, this episode, I had so many feelings while watching it. And I'm not sure if that's because I was listening to a couple recent episodes of Part of the Problem before I got into it.
Uh-oh.
You know how Dave Smith makes me feel about things. Generally, it just makes me yell and be angry. But
well, he is the most consistent motherfucker you know.
And that's the thing that really gets me is because, good Lord, is he not? So we're here, episode number 8, and I like the choice to start us off in a completely foreign place.
Yeah.
And they all of a sudden we got some crazy Asian dude.
Yeah.
Who's looking at plants and shit. And
it kind of threw me off. I was like, wait, is this Mao? Because when you first come into it, how all Asians look alike and everything. So
it's terrible.
I know.
But it could have been Mao in the past, or was it like, maybe some other Mao? Was it Mao's brother? Who was it? Some guy who's creeping on Mao's daughter? We don't know who that little Asian girl he was like ogling in the beginning was.
Right.
Are his intentions good? Is this like a fatherly love that he's showing, or is this like a creepy, I've got an ice cream van kind of love? We don't know.
Yeah.
But we find out pretty soon. And what we find out is that, well, that giant mirror that landed on Ganymede Station and blew a giant hole in Bobby Draper's world.
Yep.
Apparently blew big holes in everybody else's world.
Yeah, almost literally fell on Bobby Draper. So,
and it definitely fell on this dude.
Yeah.
Because after that point, you see that giant scar on the left side of his head.
Yeah, he had a pretty good little gash going on that they had to staple shut.
As they said, they had to put him in a coma, keep him alive. And so next thing you know, he wakes up on a pile of bodies.
Never how you really want to wake up is on a pile of bloody bodies. It's
okay. I'm glad you added the bloody part, because no, waking up on a pile of bodies is generally how I wish I was waking up every day. Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, then it's like, oh, I must have had the good stuff last night.
That's what that is. So it's an interesting place to put us. We're seeing they're kind of broadening our horizons. Like, they were very, very insular the first season.
Yeah.
And how many people we got to know and where they all fell into the plot. They've been very good, I feel, in this season about kind of giving us these threads. You don't really know where they're all going to lead.
Yeah. So showing a little more of what's happening on the periphery of everything else.
And I think that the reason they're doing that is so that you can get a chance to slowly build the world up bigger. Because like they gave us this awesome world that we've done a very little exploration of. We've kept very tight to this proto-molecule shit. We haven't gotten out beside that too much. And maybe this is a different story. It's part of the same story. We don't know yet. So we don't know much about this guy other than he's looking at some plants and looking at some little girl, and then all of a sudden he's a refugee on a refugee ship.
Yep. And for those of us keeping up, it's the Ganymede refugee, because he was a farmer on Ganymede.
So do we want to move along in the show, or do we want to kind of follow this guy to his little story arc?
It'll come back to him because this episode seems to revolve around him quite a bit. So
It does. All right, so after that, I'm trying to think. Does it move up to Fred Johnson or does it move up to? It moves to Fred Johnson talking to Diogo, right?
yeah, I think they're trying to figure out what happened with Anderson Dawes and how he was able to give him the slip. And then Holden comes in. It's like, who the hell runs security on this place?
Starting shit with Kamina.
Yeah. She's like, that's me. And he's like, well, you've either got no control over your men or you suck at your job. So
yeah, and she's not happy about that.
No. I wouldn't be happy with that either.
And I think isn't that interrupted by a dispatch from Dawes, who's calling out Fred Johnson saying, look, I tried my best to teach you how to be a good belter.
Yep.
And I found you were a sad, pathetic man, but you've still fallen. You're not really understanding what it means to be a belter.
Yep.
You can't keep this leverage against them to yourself. You have to give it to all the belters, which is why I'm taking the secrets you were trying to hide from us, and I'm giving them to all of the belt people.
Yeah, he was very adamant that he's stolen his secret. And of course, this makes its way down into the hull of Tycho Station, where I guess some other belters were listening in.
Black Sky, I believe, is the particular faction that's in there. Now, the thing that is going to be the high drama in this episode is that there's a lot of people with secrets going on. Technically, this is outing a secret that Holden knew that he never let Naomi know. And personally, I think his approach to it, he was kind of benevolent on it. Like he wasn't ill-meaning at all. But throughout this whole thing, Naomi is constantly headed back to check on her secret.
Yeah.
Which is that she never set the protomolecule in the sun. Not all of it. She pretended to.
Right.
And so that sample is still someplace else.
Yeah, she was a little upset that Holden had kept a little secret. And he was trying to say, well, I didn't have time to tell you because we had too much other important stuff going on. And
there's honestly an amount of truth to what he said. The problem is that she knowingly is preventing him from knowing about, I think as time goes on, you're going to see it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
To a degree, Fred Johnson's right when he says, look, this genie's out of the fucking bottle. And apparently, if we thought that was the only sample, maybe we could destroy it. That was something. But if it's out, it's out. And whoever can get as much information as they can on it is going to be the winner in all this.
Yeah.
That's where we need to operate from. So from there, we kind of, we see Alex is really getting involved with the refugees.
Yeah.
We see Asian dude in the middle of their, this is the rough stuff. In the middle of the trip, they talk about the economics of refugees and it's not worth keeping them.
Yeah.
And
trying to make a utilitarian argument for them.
Yeah. They're not profitable. So one thing that happens is the ship is all of a sudden here. Okay, well, all of the inners, you're going to come here. We're putting you on a ship and you're going to go back to the inner belt. Belters can stay out here. Well, he tries to get on the ship with the earthers or the inners.
Yeah.
And the time that they draw that moment out, where he thinks he's watching a friend be.
Yeah, he's going to go back home to Earth or Mars or whatever.
Yes. And, they wouldn't let him. They made sure he stayed. And so he's just sitting there watching as he thinks the ship's going to pull away.
Yeah.
And then watches as they open the airlock and they all die.
Yeah.
So he literally watches his friend die slowly and painfully in front of him. And, the guy who stopped him from going on, he's like, no. He's like, be happy, It's not the same as it used to be. We're getting ours.
Yeah.
The prejudice against the Earthers is reaching a fever pitch.
Yeah, I definitely would say so. If you're going to go that far where you're just going to murder a dozen people.
Yeah, just say fuck them. They're from the inner.
Yeah,
we don't want them. Everything they touch turns to shit. So we're kicking them out. So the whole time I'm watching that, it kind of it was making me feel some sort of ways about a lot of the bullshit that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah,
as far as the race in America or the race issue, and I'm of a mind that focusing on it and paying attention to it can't do anything good. I don't think there's any way that quote unquote white people could make up for what they did to black people in America. There is no making up for it. And to continue the war the way that they want to continue it, I guess, if you're going to say there's the races, you're going to be in a position where you have to try and make people be accountable for all of the sins of their past. And that doesn't work because it's only going to breed resentment. It's going to create backlash. This, what happened to those people on that ship is backlash.
Yeah.
It's backlash for history. Those people had nothing to do with what happened. They're just fucking scientists that wanted to help further humanity.
Yeah. Literally trying to grow the food.
Yeah, you can understand the anger that Belters feel in this situation because they're fucking right to feel angry. They've been disenfranchised. They've been fucked over left and right by people.
Yeah.
The problem is that all this does is create a constant adversarial position where they're going to fight forever. There's no way to win. You can never make up for the sins of the past. It's just not something that can be done.
We call it Manichaeism. It's basically, well, they're the other and they're evil.
And it's just, it really highlights what I see happening in America right now. Or it's like, well, I'm white, so I have to make up for everything in the past. Well,
yeah,
I don't have anything to do with that. And even if I did, all you're going to do, like, even if I agreed with you, you're going to piss off people. And then you're going to create backlash. And then you're going to force at a certain point in any war, the only winning is they either have to wipe us all off the map and do not think for a minute that I'm going to go without fighting. I'm not going to walk off that fucking cliff myself. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I myself am not personally responsible for it, so trying to
and it's something you don't. I personally understand like the vitriol that people have about this stuff. My big thing is that the only winning is both sides putting down their arms and saying enough's enough.
Yeah, you just be better than the previous generation.
Yeah, like we have to be better people. Like I get it. And I also understand what me saying that from my perspective, sounds like. Somebody else is like, oh, you're just saying that because you don't want to lose. I'm like, well, I'm still not convinced we're going to lose. They're still fucking outnumber people, right? So it's right now.
Yeah, I'm of the same mind about the Thanksgiving holiday. There's a lot of shitty things done in the name of that holiday. And so, try to take it back for something else.
Yeah.
Going forward.
I mean, I guess I probably have a more vested interest in some aspects of the race issue because I'm frankly pretty goddamn scared about what that means for me and my family.
Yeah.
Moving forward, or my wife and daughter are going to be personally considered race traders for the rest of their lives, shit like that.
Yeah.
And that concerns me. Not to get too off topic and off the Expanse, it was the big thing that was really on my mind when I'm watching the way there's.
Yeah, it kind of jumps out on you on this episode.
Yeah, and that's something that they haven't really dealt with until this point is refugees.
Yeah.
In this system, it's not something like that it's got to be there because it's everywhere. As long as there's a people and a tribe that claim a place, you're gonna have that. But in this case, we're not dealing with countries, we're dealing with ships, and we're dealing with planets. You're not used to thinking of people kind of being cut off from their homes and their lands. Basically, this doctor was just kind of. The factory where he works at doesn't exist anymore. Well, it happens to be the factory he works at is a fucking asteroid, Yeah. It's not like he can just go drive his car and go back home and figure it out. Like, refugeeism is a very different thing in a world that's functions the way that this world does. I thought that was a really interesting point to look at.
Well, even after they all arrived up on Tycho, I mean, the security chief goes and tells Fred Johnson, and it was like, yeah, we just have 3,500 people here. And this station wasn't designed for it.
Well, and that's it. Like, we were talking at work the other day about sci-fi and like what makes sci-fi. And to me, like the thing that defines sci-fi versus another form of film is that the science has to be integral to what's going on.
Yeah,
and
it's got to be somewhat believable.
Well, and there's always that sense of tension in this world that anytime people are moving around, like there has to be a reason, like there has to be resources that change hands.
Yeah.
And part of like the Rocinante getting in good with Fred Johnson and Tycho is that basically they have unlimited supplies as far as they're concerned. Now, granted,
yeah,
Tycho Station doesn't have unlimited supplies, so you start having huge influxes of people. That makes a difference. 8 people. What the hell does that matter? You can live off of the company dole for a while.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where this episode actually ends. Is where Fred Johnson says, "Look. If you pull out of here and you don't bring me back whatever it is you find on that fucking station, you're not welcome here anymore.
Yeah.
I'm cutting you off. Like there'll be no refuge. Like I'm not going to protect you from the factions. I'm not going to protect you from the inners. There's not going to be any more free food, free liquor, free gas, like free repairs. Like it's over."
Yeah.
So
yeah, pretty much told him, yeah, if you leave, don't bother coming back.
Yeah, and that's an important thing, like because out in that part of the world, if you Fred Johnson like people, like this is why the factions and stuff kind of get super important, and later on in the series it'll be even more important. You have out there, you have to have the protection of the like. Well, I guess we would talk about getting down decentralization, people forming their own little societies and stuff like that. And you kind of are at the whim of the people who choose to take you in out there. And if Fred Johnson's on, because if it's not him, where else are you going to get a gas? Where else are you going to get it?
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, "Oh, you anarchists, you just believe in this utopia." Or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, no. But we believe in decentralizing and laying blame and responsibility where it belongs.
Yeah,
that's the more important thing.
Nothing utopian about it.
I do not think all of the world's problems are going to be fixed, but I think that the people responsible for those problems have a better chance of having to deal with them than like being able to spread load those out amongst society at large.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, for me, like anarchy isn't going to work for more than 10,000 people, because I think it's going to be a very small group.
Well, I think invariably that's how people's brains function. Like, we're not good at like having huge groups. I think that if you accept the non-aggression principle, the humanity as a whole, if that's the only rule that we all agree on, like, I think it's a good start. Like, if we can all just agree on one fucking rule, we don't attack people who don't attack us openly, then we're all pretty good.
Yeah. Well,
we can figure most of the other shit out.
Yeah, I mean, you even see that in that goofy little meme with the sign at the restaurant that says, "Look, if we all just promise to be cool."
Pretty much.
And everyone gets a good chuckle out of that because they kind of realize it in the back of their mind. It's like, yeah.
So during the course of this episode, we see Amos being real weird.
Yeah, I think that last little thing where the little kid looked at him as a monster when he was trying to keep the lady from taking a second share after it fell to the ground kind of shook him up a little bit.
At first, and they really played it up. We don't know if what happened. Did he go and get the procedure? Is it, or is he kind of just dealing with some own internal stuff? They kind of play it off like, well, did he or didn't he? The way he's acting with Alex is very, detached, and it's kind of like that other guy acted. So maybe, a couple things come out. Number one, he calls Alex out on, Alex is trying to say, well, why won't you do things to help people? And he points out to Alex, you won't even help your family. Like, they're out on Mars, and
yeah. So how about the family you left on Mars? They're right there.
Yeah, you're out here fucking gallivanting around the universe, and what about them? You can't even help them. Who the fuck are you to tell me about this shit?
Yeah.
To which, he then almost kills Alex over.
Yeah, it was very close.
Because Alex gets in his face about, it's like, how dare you do that to me? And then he's like, well, fuck you, I'm going to kill you because I'm Amos. At which point, Amos kind of takes a minute, levels out, and he's like, but if I kill you, who's going to drive the ship?
Yeah, he has that little moment of, it's like, oh yeah, I can't get rid of you. You're the pilot.
Yeah. And so, which lends it to the idea that he went and had the procedure. I'm still not entirely sure. I don't know that if he had it and it just wears off by the end of the episode or what, because they said it's not permanent.
Yeah, it's only permanent if you choose to make it.
Yeah.
I think was the way Cortazar put it.
Now, you can see that there's an episode where he's looking up that woman who raised him. Yeah,
that was right before the other guy barged in on him and was asking why he wasn't helping.
Yeah, that's before Alex came in and fucked with him. So
what was her name? Miranda Ludolph or whatever?
I can't remember exactly. She is essentially, I believe she is a pimp down in Maryland.
Yeah. Baltimore of all places. Yuck.
Yes, well, you're gonna. I'm gonna warn you. You're gonna get to see some of Baltimore later on in the series.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Baltimore is still a place.
Yeah, it's still a thing that exists.
Doesn't look like much has changed, to be completely honest. All of the shit that happens in the world, Baltimore is pretty much the same.
Great. Now, when the punk rock libertarians listen to this, they're all going to be up our asses about it.
As of the recording, I'll actually be on the show tonight, so I'll make sure I bring it up.
Good.
So, that lends me to think, oh no, he is just kind of off he's off in his own thoughts right now. Didn't have it done, but you never really know.
Yeah. I was looking to see if he had like any new scars or bandages. I didn't see anything. So,
well, there wouldn't be though, because you remember it's a magnetic thing. Like,
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he wouldn't have anything like that. It's like, and that's why I thought that all the sweating might have been a signal, because when he walks out of the place initially, he's just fucking dripping with sweat.
Yeah,
and looks all detached.
Well, he did have a split lip, so I don't know if he had just got done with a fight or something.
And maybe that's it. He was in there doing Amos shit, got into a fight, and was just trying to feel alive, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
like I said,
just Amos doing Amos shit. That's how we can sum up every episode.
He is my favorite character because he is just such a fucking enigma, and for like everything you learn about him, you have to kind of second guess everything you think about the character.
Yeah, you get 9 more questions where you were trying to ask one. So.
So what else do we have in this episode? You got the Black Sky faction attempts a coup on Tycho.
Yep.
They shoot Kamina.
Yeah, right in the guts.
And this is actually kind of during the altercation between Alex and Amos.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh shit, someone's trying to arm them warheads from Earth.
Yeah.
And so they stop it and eventually tell, hey, Naomi, get the fuck up here. We got some issues.
Yeah, there's some problems.
And so they figure out a way to stop the coup by stealing all the oxygen to the bridge and then killing people.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I love about this scene is because, like, you've got Kamina being a badass. She kind of lets on that, yeah, I used to work with Dawes and fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows she's clearly like a belter's belter, but she works with Fred Johnson. And, like, she gets shit from, other belters consistently about that.
Yeah.
Because to many, he's just an interloping earther who thinks he's for the cause, but isn't really.
Yeah, that's kind of how they view anybody else who comes from the inners and wants to be a belter. They always have that moment of skepticism that just seems to linger.
Well, Fred Johnson, you say that there's skepticism, but I mean, I feel like Holden kind of, for the most part, gets around it.
Yeah.
I think with Fred Johnson, it's because has the, I murdered a bunch of belters on my hands. Like, I think that's part of his issue. It's like, yeah, you did this, so, you don't get to ever be clean. You always have to carry that with you.
Yeah, he's going to carry around tons of baggage with him.
Tons of bagels too. It's the best. So let's see here. Eventually, they end up doing it. I love the fact that when they're walking people, like they eventually get up there, they get all of the people conscious again, and Kamina, as she's walking out of the fucking room,
just executes a couple of dudes.
Oh yeah, and I think it's a wonderful illustration about how she isn't Fred Johnson.
Yeah.
Like, she's a fucking belter through and through. Don't get it twisted. Like, she'll follow and work for Fred because he treats her well, but she doesn't fucking play those games if she doesn't have to. Those motherfuckers shot her. They're going to die. And so just execution style fucking puts one in both of their skulls. Both the guy who...
Yeah, and even Fred Johnson was like, hey,
yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Well, and there's a degree to which I think Fred knows that he needs Kamina.
Yeah, she kind of acts like that buffer between him and the rest of the belters that are on board Tycho.
Oh, well, and I think that's the thing. She is the only reason that anyone will take him seriously.
Yeah.
Because without her, like, he's just a fucking earth.
Yeah.
But if she's willing to follow him, that kind of lends some credibility, some authenticity to him.
Yeah.
I guess, so is there anything else that we kind of skipped over before we get to, like, that final scene?
Trying to think. They find, Holden and Naomi find the guy,
that's right.
May. Yeah.
Yeah, they find the doctor.
Yeah, Meng. Yeah, Praxidike Meng.
May is his daughter.
Yeah, May is his daughter. Yeah, I was trying to remember what his name was.
So they're trying to find out, like, well, we need to get information. What's the connection here? And so they find a connection. They narrow it down to a doctor.
Yeah.
Who works for Protogen Industries that also was on the
on Ganymede.
And they find this guy with just a bunch of fucking doctorates, like, genetics, fucking bioengineering and shit like that. And then they look at his profession on the ship, and they find a
pediatrician.
Yeah, wait, why the fuck is this? Why is a guy with like all these degrees in genetics and bioengineering a pediatrician?
Wasting his time with children's Tylenol all day long.
Exactly. And so something doesn't smell right, and he's got that Protogen tie. So now they're trying to find, well, is there any connection we can find to somebody there? We can, from the people that were on there, who was listed as surviving. And what they end up finding is they find our botanist friend, Mr. Ming, who is on Tycho Station.
Yep.
And so they're going to utilize him to try and track down his daughter that he thought was dead. As it turns out, the pediatrician seemed to leave with the daughter about an hour before the shit happened.
Yeah, indicating that he kind of knew something.
Yes. And so now they take the doctor on, they bring him on the ship. There's a very interesting moment at the end, and I think it's designed to be like the It's designed to be the no, Amos didn't have this done, or at least it didn't stick if he did.
Yeah.
Where, he's listening to the doctor, and he's like, well, is this how you treat all of your guests? You're not a guest, bro. Like, you're a guide.
Yeah.
And he's like, on the pause, he's like, but I will say, Naomi told me about your predicament, and that's a good reason to do something,
Yeah.
And him being able to kind of make a decision between like good and bad is, I think, the moment was, oh, okay, well, whatever happened, if you did take it, wear it off.
Yeah.
We're getting some kind of humanity left in him right now. But that's that whole episode. You're just not sure how much humanity is left in Amos.
Yeah. There's something deep inside, maybe, and it comes out every once in a while,
Well, I think it's the inhumanity that pops out more than anything.
Yeah.
I think he is a genuinely human person. He's just capable of detachment that most people aren't. And when it happens, it's just such an egregious detachment that, like,
yeah,
you don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
It's not like he runs around completely detached. Like, he clearly has interest in, like, human things. Like, he likes to fuck, he likes to drink. So,
yeah,
those seem very human to me.
Occasionally, he laughs at jokes. So
sometimes ones that you don't even get.
That's right.
So, yeah, they end up finding him. He's trying to, when he first gets to the station, I don't know if we mentioned it, like, he's trying to convince that woman to, oh, the ship I came on, they spaced a bunch of people. And she looks mortified, but she's like, what the fuck can I do? You can't even remember the ship you were on. Like, I can't do anything. Yes, that's a crime. They should be punished, but how?
There's like nothing I can do about it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a rough moment, to see people do awful things and then see justice not be able to be happened. But I mean, that's like the fog of war moment. There's just, in this chaos, what the fuck do you do? How do you really know what really happened? That kind of shit.
Yeah.
So, which brings us to, I think, the last moment in the episode, which is Holden on the phone with Fred Johnson.
Yep.
Where Fred Johnson tells him, hey, I'm going to cut you off if you don't fucking bring me back what I want you to bring me back. And he tells him, he's like, you and I both know that shit changed.
Yeah.
And you're not the top dog right now.
Oh, yeah. Holden even says, he's like, when we come back and if you'll be in charge, just kind of throws that out there.
Yeah. Like, what makes you think that, like, we've already had one coup and we had to save your ass? What makes you think you're still going to be here when we come back?
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because there's a certain amount of, it seems so prescient what's going on in the series. You're kind of watching all of the structures, like all of the societal structures failing.
Yeah.
All at once. And it's hard to not kind of look out and see that as being kind of like what's going on around us in the real world right now. Like, you're seeing governments everywhere just fucking up their jobs. You're seeing,
whether it be on purpose or by accident.
yeah, people leaving churches and stuff in fucking droves.
Yeah.
You're seeing, you're seeing the schools and stuff, giant newspapers, like, we're embroiled in all of the cancel culture stuff that's going on. Like, there's just so much that's just things that have stood for 100 years don't seem like they're on firm footing anymore.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, I mean, I guess we're going to find out because we're in the middle of it, but how does all that fare? If you have the new generations take over everything and kind of start from scratch, there's the fear, at least in my end, that they're going to forget all the lessons that we've learned in the past, 100 years.
Yep. It's a tough thing. And a lot of them just want to erase history like it didn't happen. But, like tearing down statues and everything else and, trying to whitewash over certain aspects of history that they don't want to be associated with. But, it's a tough thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's toughest because personally, I'm like, yeah, I kind of think all that stuff's stupid anyways. Like, what the hell do I give a shit about your statues? Fucking tear them all down. It doesn't mean shit to me. But, it starts with statues, but what happens after that? And they start burning the libraries.
Yeah. Yeah. Books will be after that because then they'll be unapproved.
For me, it's like the private property issues. Like, yeah, this is why we don't have, commons.
Yep.
You get rid of the statues because this, you're stealing from someone to make that happen. And what happens when it stops being, that your libraries, now you're stealing knowledge from people. I think that private libraries are the more important thing, and hopefully there's enough knowledge in private libraries out there to offset damage that I anticipate will come.
Yeah.
But then again, all of it's got to be digitized at some point here too. So is that even really an issue?
Well, until they start memory holding the digital stuff, you know what I mean?
Don't even get me started with it. We'll have a moment after this where we get to discuss the article I just saw from Vice today.
Oh, wonderful.
So why don't you give us the technicals and we'll get on out of here.
Okay, so season 2, episode 8 was titled Pyre, as in funeral pyre.
What do you think that is? Why was it called Pyre, by the way?
Probably the results from Ganymede, if I had to make a guess.
To me, I'm envisioning this episode as being like the final nail in the coffin to the world that used to exist that doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're watching whatever the truce is between the different Belter things fall apart. You're watching them give up on the idea of peace with the Inners.
Yeah.
Like the old world order, however it existed, is gonna be dying after this point.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I interpreted it.
Thin ice before, and then it fell through.
Yeah, we're see how the New World Order works out, right?
Yeah, Novus Ordo Seclorum. So there you go.
Is it the New Galactic Order at this point?
The Galactic Empire. Anyways, so directed by Kenneth Fink, written by Robin Veith. It came out March 15th, 2017. The last episode was the worst ratings for this season. So this episode had a 0.460, which kind of goes up a little bit. Yeah, it's I don't know what Sci-Fi was doing during this time, but
apparently not promoting the best show that they had on their network, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess that's rough, but so next week it'll get up a little bit more than that. So, but we're about halfway through now, so we only got a few episodes left to go.
I vaguely remember the action picking up for the rest of the season too from this point on, because now we're in a manhunt.
Yes. We got to find Dawes.
There's a moment that I'm waiting for. Like I told Liz, I hated not being able to keep watching today because I'm so pumped for like some of the shit that's going to be coming in the episodes.
Yeah.
Just think how important chicken would be in a society like this. Cans of chicken.
Yeah. We don't really think about it too much because they're kind of all over the place down here on Earth.
Literally in every group I'm in, all of my friends grow chickens. So
they call it yard bird for a reason.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, folks. You all go out there and try and make the future better than this one is leading us to, I guess.
Yep.
Make it better than the Expanse thinks it's going to be.
Definitely. I mean, they got the UN in charge of Earth. Ugh.
God, sadly, it seems almost inevitable at this point, but terrifying.
I know. All right,
everybody. Peace.